Hello everyone and welcome to my YNR CBS Daily Update channel. Can you actually scare yourself into a medical miracle? Well, think about what just happened to Nikki Newman. Was her vision really restored by her body healing, or was this a violent psychological hard reset triggered by absolute terror? It's a wild question, right? Before we go any further, if stories like this keep you thinking long after the episode ends, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and share this video with another fan who needs to hear this. We are diving deep today into a moment that has changed the Newman family forever. I'm Jenny, and this is YNR CBS Daily Update, where we go beyond the surface of your favorite TV dramas and uncover the psychology, hidden emotions, and deeper meanings behind every storyline. We aren't just looking at what happened, we are looking at why it happened and what it says about the characters we have spent years getting to know. Let's look at where this all started. Nikki Newman has been trapped in a world of literal and metaphorical shadows for weeks. She had a mass pressing on her optic nerve. It was a scary diagnosis that came after weeks of headaches and vision problems. The doctor, Dr. Noling, warned her that if she didn't get surgery, she would go blind forever. But even with the surgery, there were no promises. When those bandages finally came off, the blackness she saw wasn't just a medical failure. It was an emotional crushing of her spirit. She had been clinging to the hope that this appointment would be her breakthrough. When it didn't happen, she fell into a deep depression. She even smashed a mirror in frustration. That moment was incredibly important because it showed that she felt she had lost her identity. If Nikki Newman couldn't even see herself, who was she anymore? Her blindness wasn't just physical. It symbolized the complete loss of control in her life. As the matriarch of the Newman family, depending on other people was her greatest fear. She even tried to hide her condition from Victor because she didn't want him to stay with her out of pity. She wanted his love, not his sympathy. Even after everything they had been through together, she still worried that Victor only loved the strong version of her. Eventually, Nikki reached her breaking point. When the human mind can no longer process overwhelming trauma, it sometimes shuts down completely. She was grieving the life she thought she was about to get back, and that grief slowly turned into a devastating psychological collapse. Then came the terrifying night at the Newman ranch. Nikki was home alone, an incredibly dangerous situation for someone who couldn't see. Suddenly, the house felt like something out of a horror movie. Glass seemed to shatter. Her phone failed when she desperately tried to activate it with her voice. Then, out of nowhere, the piano began playing Three Blind Mice. Think about how disturbing that choice of music really was. It's a children's nursery rhyme about blindness and being hunted. Nikki is a pianist. The piano had always represented comfort, beauty, and the happiest parts of her life. But in that terrifying moment, it became the instrument of her worst nightmare. While panic consumed her, Nikki began naming the people she believed could be behind the terrifying events. She mentioned Kane Ashby, Matt Clark, and Patty Williams. These weren't random names. Every one of them represented a painful chapter from her past. Kane reminded her of betrayal and manipulation. Matt Clark symbolized old mistakes and unresolved guilt. Patty Williams represented chaos, obsession, and psychological trauma. Even though some of these people were no longer real threats, fear has a way of ignoring logic. In the darkness, Nikki wasn't fighting actual enemies. She was confronting every painful memory she had tried to bury for years. That nightmare became a psychological exorcism, forcing her to face every ghost from her past. The writers did an excellent job showing how complete isolation can create paranoia. When Victoria finally arrived at the Newman ranch, she found Nikki in a total emotional breakdown. But when Victoria looked around, nothing appeared unusual. There was no broken glass, no mysterious intruder, no piano playing in the background. Instead, Victoria discovered Nikki's phone sitting behind a couch cushion. From Victoria's perspective, everything had a simple explanation. But for Nikki, every terrifying experience had felt completely real. That difference between what Nikki experienced and what everyone else saw perfectly illustrated how powerful fear can become. Unfortunately, Victoria's reaction also revealed another painful truth. Without meaning to, she had begun treating her own mother like someone who couldn't take care of herself anymore. That only deepened Nikki's frustration, because independence had always been one of the defining parts of her identity. The entire situation closely resembles what psychologists describe as conversion disorder, sometimes referred to as hysterical blindness. Under extreme emotional stress, the brain can produce very real physical symptoms without any new physical injury. The nightmare became the pressure cooker that pushed Nikki beyond her emotional limits, while Victor's arrival would soon become the emotional release she desperately needed. Then came the moment everything changed. Victor rushed to Nikki's side and held her close. Moments later, she suddenly woke with a violent gasp, sitting straight up in bed as though she had been thrown out of the nightmare itself. Television often uses this dramatic awakening after nightmares because it visually tells the audience that a character has crossed from fear back into reality. In Nikki's case, it symbolized much more than simply waking up. It represented the moment her mind finally let go of the terror that had been trapping her. It was almost like rebooting a frozen computer. Sometimes the entire system refuses to respond until it is completely reset. Nikki's terrifying nightmare became that emotional reset. The overwhelming fear pushed her mind beyond its resistance, allowing her brain to reconnect with what the surgery had already made possible. Some viewers may think it was too convenient that Nikki regained her sight the very moment Victor arrived, but emotionally, it made perfect sense. Nikki and Victor have always shared one of the strongest bonds in Genoa City. Symbolically, her heart refused to see the world again until the first face it could recognize was Victor's. It is deeply romantic, but it also reveals how emotionally dependent they have become on each other. Nikki only truly feels safe when Victor is beside her, and that emotional security may have been the final piece her mind needed before allowing her vision to return. Now the couple is talking about leaving this painful chapter behind and starting over with a clean slate. But can anyone in Genoa City ever truly leave the past behind? Even though Nikki's eyesight has returned, the emotional wounds are unlikely to disappear so easily. Trauma leaves scars that cannot be seen, and those scars often shape future decisions far more than physical injuries ever could. For a short time, the Newman family will probably enjoy a peaceful honeymoon period. However, that peace may not last very long. Nikki has spent weeks depending on everyone around her, and now that she has regained her independence, she may try to prove herself by taking unnecessary risks or becoming overly involved in family business once again. Another interesting consequence involves Victoria and Claire. Victoria never stopped believing that her mother would recover. Claire, on the other hand, tried to stay realistic and prepare everyone for the possibility that Nikki's blindness could become permanent. Now that Nikki has recovered, Victoria's optimism appears justified, while Claire's cautious attitude may unfairly make her seem negative or unsupportive. That difference could quietly shift the balance of power between them. Victoria now carries the confidence of someone whose faith was rewarded, while Claire may struggle to earn the same level of trust within the Newman family. One question still remains unanswered. Was Nikki's recovery truly a miracle, or was it simply the biology of fear finally releasing its grip? Dr. Noling had already explained that healing could take time after surgery. Medically, her recovery was always possible. Yet the timing was so extraordinary that it almost felt as though her subconscious mind had been protecting her from a reality she simply wasn't ready to face. By surviving the nightmare, Nikki didn't just regain her eyesight. She defeated the psychological battle that had been consuming her from the inside. Her restored vision became more than a medical success. It became a symbol of emotional survival and a fresh beginning for the entire Newman family. But the story doesn't end there. One detail that deserves more attention is Nikki's phone. During the nightmare, she desperately searched for it but couldn't find it. When the voice activation failed to respond, it felt as though the last connection to safety had disappeared. Later, Victoria simply found the phone behind a couch cushion. That small moment carried a much deeper meaning. Modern technology has become something we depend on every day, especially during emergencies. For someone who had lost her sight, that phone represented freedom, security, and independence. When it failed her, Nikki felt completely helpless. The fear, frustration, and confusion all came together, causing her to fall and injure her knee. Every event built upon the one before it, creating the perfect emotional storm. The people Nikki imagined during the nightmare also reflected her deepest regrets. Kane Ashby reminded her of painful betrayals. Matt Clark represented old family mistakes that never truly disappeared. Patty Williams symbolized fear, instability, and emotional chaos. Her mind wasn't simply remembering old enemies, it was forcing her to relive every moment when she had felt powerless. That is why the nightmare felt so real. It wasn't just a dream. It was a confrontation with years of buried emotional pain. Another powerful element was the transformation of the Newman Ranch itself. For decades, the ranch has represented safety, family, and tradition. During Nikki's nightmare, however, it became a place filled with darkness, strange sounds, and constant danger. Turning such a familiar location into something frightening allowed viewers to experience the same confusion and vulnerability Nikki was feeling. As Nikki and Victor look toward a fresh start, one important question remains. Can they truly escape the patterns that have defined their relationship for so many years? Throughout their history, they have experienced countless new beginnings, only to find themselves facing another crisis before long. This time may feel different because Nikki has survived something that changed her emotionally as well as physically. Yet Genoa City has never allowed peace to last forever. New secrets, unexpected betrayals, and family conflicts always seem to appear when everything finally looks stable. For now, however, Nikki has something she feared she would never experience again. She can see Victor's face, her family, and the world around her. That alone makes this one of the most emotional victories in recent Newman family history. What do you think? Was Nikki's restored vision simply the natural result of successful surgery, or did the nightmare trigger a genuine psychological breakthrough? And will this fresh start finally bring lasting happiness to Nikki and Victor, or is another heartbreaking chapter already waiting around the corner? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video. Thanks for watching YNR CBS Daily Update, and I'll see you in the next episode with more drama, hidden meanings, and in-depth analysis from Genoa City.